NASCAR. Interesting. So yesterday, 2011 and Front Row got their injunction. They now become charter teams. But oh no! You do not like that. You do not like that. NASCAR does not like that at all. So they filed an appeal. Let's go over it. This case is getting good. Clearly, I'm getting more invested into this court scene between NASCAR, 2011 and Front Row. I feel like I'm on Cousin Vinny right now with this suit. The defense is wrong. And NASCAR has filed an appeal, which means we got some stuff to talk about. Would you like to hear it? Because I personally would love to hear it. By the way, I'm going to keep this on for the entire episode. Okay, so enough with the chatter. Let's get into it. NASCAR is desperate and salty. At least that's what it sounds like, how they responded to the preliminary injunction decision, granting 2011 and Front Row to become charter teams for at least the 2025 season, and that the SHR transfers actually go through to 2011 and Front Row. Now, NASCAR has not only appealed this, but they also gave a little extra something for the judge regarding what they should do next with this case. NASCAR wants this case to stay or delay. Defendants moved this court to stay its December 18, 2024 order granting plaintiffs a preliminary injunction, except for the court's requirement that NASCAR guarantee entry of 2 cars from Front Row and 2 cars from 2011 in each race of the 2025 Cup Series. With respect to the injunction hearing, plaintiffs to be allowed to operate 2 cars under the terms of the 25 charter. NASCAR understands that plaintiffs' primary basis for their claim of irreparable harm is that they will not have guaranteed entry into all Cup Series races. A stay of the injunction, except for the guaranteed entry provision, would be more appropriately address plaintiffs' claimed harm without requiring NASCAR to allow plaintiffs to receive all the benefits of a charter, including increased monetary payments that are due to the goodwill provision they challenge as anti-competitive. So what you're getting at is this. NASCAR is saying, okay, we will allow 2011 and Front Row to basically have a guaranteed spot in the Cup Series field for 2025. Every single Cup Series race, those 4 cars will be a part of it. The reason why I say 4 is because while they want to give them those guaranteed entries, they are still not willing to give them that SHR transfer in which each team gets 1 extra charter so that each team will have 3 charters in total, and that they are still not part of the charter agreement. So that, yeah, you are guaranteed to race in every race this season, but you're not getting the monetary gains, you're not getting all the other benefits that a charter team would get. Now, that whole irreparable harm part, remember, yesterday's video we talked about how with the potential of losing Monster Energy, losing Tyler Reddick, maybe losing Bubba, Noah Gragson also, he had in his contract a lot of drivers and a lot of sponsorship revolved around 2011 and Front Row being charter teams, and that's why the judge granted that. Well, NASCAR is saying that, listen, if you give them just a spot, and if we give them just a spot in every Cup Series race, that would fill that irreparable harm, because one of the main things about it with Monster Energy, for example, reconsidering their relationship with 2011 was that they didn't know that, if they would be on the grid every single Sunday. It was a risk that they could not be on the grid. For example, in the Daytona 500, Tyler Reddick could get caught up in a crash in a dual race and he's not in the race. NASCAR is saying that by them granting that, hey, listen, you will be in every single Cup Series race would fulfill that whole irreparable harm act. One of the things that NASCAR is stating in this appeal, and that why they should have this stay or have this delay, is because that according to NASCAR, Judge Kenneth Bell, who is overseeing this case, made some mistakes. Now, one of the reasons why NASCAR is doing this appeal and why it should enter a stay or a delay is that they're saying that Judge Kenneth Bell, who's overseeing this case, made some mistakes in granting the preliminary injunction to 2011 and Front Row by saying that it was an overly broad decision and not a limited injunctive decision. Because a preliminary injunction is unlimited in duration, its entry always requires notice to the opposing party, sufficient to give that party an opportunity to prepare an opposition to entry of an injunction. If you don't know what that means, it's basically this. Whenever a decision like this is made about a preliminary injunction, usually what the judge should do is let NASCAR know or let the defendants know so that NASCAR has time to prepare for this, to clap back, to file an appeal. Now, this is important because the closure, at least the whole transfer, of the charters is supposed to be done by today, December 20th. And obviously we know that the judge granted the preliminary injunction to the teams yesterday on December 18th. So when NASCAR is saying that, listen, You didn't give us time. We had no time to prepare or to be able to appeal in a orderly fashion. Indeed, plaintiffs did not introduce this issue until after defendants filed their opposition brief. On the same day, plaintiffs filed their reply brief in support of their motion, which is far too late to bring up new issues. Now, they bring up multiple points. The second point that they brought up is that the relief was improper because it stated that it was only specifically talking about, or at least the plaintiff's reply was only specifically talking about the SHR transfer of Front Row and not 2311, and how the plaintiffs, or 2311 and Front Row, only sought the approval of the SHR charter to Front Row, not 2311. So NASCAR is saying that, listen, you're granting it to both teams, an SHR charter to both teams, yet the plaintiffs have only really fought for just the SHR charter of Front Row, which makes no sense. And I'm pretty sure if you look at previous filings, I think that we've talked about in this episode or through this whole series of the NASCAR lawsuit, mention both 2311 and Front Row wanting the SHR charter. They've each mentioned this. So I don't know where NASCAR is getting where they only push, that the plaintiffs only push for Front Row's acquisition of an SHR charter and not 2311's. That doesn't make sense to me because both teams have said they want an SHR charter. And finally, NASCAR says that it fails to recognize that its injunction undermines every very form of contract. Basically, it goes against what their contract states. For a NASCAR charter to be approved, NASCAR has multiple conditions in order for that charter to be, completed. One of them is, of course, to be a part of the whole charter agreement, which 2311 and Front Row, they did not sign for the 2025 season. Therefore, they are not charter teams. Therefore, they do not meet the requirements. Now, this part is very interesting. NASCAR then goes on to say that they will suffer irreparable harm if this stay is not granted. Very interesting. Honestly, NASCAR, that's a very interesting way of looking at it by saying that y'all will have irreparable harm, which, newsflash, they won't. It will effectively force NASCAR into a 7 to 14 year contractual relationship with plaintiffs with respect to these charters, even though plaintiffs have not met multiple required conditions for these charters assignment. Moreover, it would be difficult, perhaps even impossible, to unwind these court order transfers once they have occurred. Entering a stay before these transfers occur is crucial to prevent the consequences of an erroneous injunction from becoming irreversible. On top of that, this court's order permitting plaintiffs to race under the 2025 charter terms will inflict irreparable harm on NASCAR. For example, it requires NASCAR to disclose confidential information to plaintiffs, an action that is inherently irreparable. Whoa, hold up. Let me see if I got this right. Keep in mind that in order to be a part of the 2025 transfer, you cannot sue NASCAR for anything. With 2311 and Front Row going through this lawsuit while being charter teams, NASCAR says that they will be required to give them confidential information. What I'm getting at is this. Hey, NASCAR, what don't you want them to know? What could be possibly so bad? Keep in mind, they've been under previous charter agreements. They were under the 2016, or I believe the 2020 to 2024 charter agreement, 2311 and Front Row. So they do have confidential information of NASCAR, at least in previous charter agreements. But that was at a time when they couldn't sue NASCAR. Now, of course, they are suing NASCAR. Suing NASCAR, and you're able to get confidential information that can be put in front of a jury on trial. I'm just saying, NASCAR, I'm just saying, it doesn't look that good. It looks pretty shady that you have confidential information that is so important that you're begging for the judge, please do not let this go. I'm just saying, there must be some really, really good stuff in there for NASCAR to so desperately want to keep behind closed doors. Now, I understand there are companies out there that just want things behind closed doors. I get that. However, look at how NASCAR has gone through in their history. They've done a lot of shady stuff to get to where they are today. But it's always been behind closed doors because, number one, they are a private company. And number two, you have contracts like this that says that you can't sue NASCAR for anything regarding antitrust lawsuit or anything of that nature. Well, now, 2311 Front Row, they have, at the moment, won their preliminary injunction, depending, of course, what happens on Monday with this appeal. But if this does go to a jury, then NASCAR will be forced to show their hand, forced to open their books. And that, I think, is what scares NASCAR the most. It's not the transfer of charters. It's none of that. It's not giving 2311 and Front Row more money. It's not even making the charters permanent. No. They, in my mind, are most afraid of showing their books in front of a jury. That's what they're the most scared of. That's why they said irreparable harm, for God's sakes. Why? Like, NASCAR, everyone knows that if this, let's say, goes through, let's play hypothetical, this goes through with NASCAR, 2311 Front Row are charter teams. It's not going to affect NASCAR in any way, shape, or form. They were originally going to be 36 charters. They will still have to operate with 36 charters. Nothing is going to change. They're going to get a $1.1 billion deal. They're going to be getting more money. It's not going to change from NASCAR, where irreparable harm comes in that money cannot fix. Okay? It's not. But them opening their books, a private company being forced to show their hand, and especially some of the shady stuff that NASCAR has done, you know damn well they will do everything in their power to make sure nobody gets even a slight little word of what NASCAR is like behind the scenes. And finally, NASCAR then says to close off that their stay would not harm the plaintiffs. They can still race as open teams, just as they had previously announced they would. But even if the court disagrees, and in the alternative, a partial stay of the injunction except as to the guaranteed entry provision, such that NASCAR would be required to guarantee of 2 cars from each plaintiff in each race of the 25 Cup Series, or until the fourth court rules on defendants' appeal would address plaintiffs' claims of irreparable injury and is a less restrictive alternative. Basically saying that, hey, listen, they can still compete as open teams. We will grant them, a race in every single Cup race for the 2025 season. That will, solidify, that will help calm the waters of sponsors leaving or Tyler Reddick, other drivers leaving, since they will be guaranteed to compete in a Cup race for the 2025 season. That's what NASCAR is saying on how teams won't be harmed. But you're still saying, but again, it's kind of interesting the way they wrote this out, because you're treating them as quote unquote charter teams and saying, hey, look, they're competing in every single race next season, but you're not treating them as charter teams. You're not getting the benefits of a charter team. And I think that opens a whole other can of worms for other open teams, like maybe MBM Motorsports, for example, the number 66 car. Or maybe I heard you hear with Rick Ware Racing, potentially them having just having one full-time charter and then a second car be an open car. Well, they could also then maybe finally be hey, 2311 Front Row, they get to be in every single Cup race next season. What about us? Do we get that same treatment? That unfair treatment? I feel like that could open a whole other can of worms in my eyes. So NASCAR's philosophy, in my eyes, doesn't really make that much sense, because they could then open a whole other can of worms for other teams to jump on. Now, the judge requests that Judge Bell moves forward with this very quickly because of the whole December 20th, which the sales should close between the SHR charters going to 2011 and Front Row. It should close today. So NASCAR is telling to the judge, hey, can we hurry this up, please? That is so hypocritical on NASCAR. And the reason why is because, about 5 days away is Christmas. You want this to speed up, happen quickly. The judge says he'll make a ruling, I believe, on Monday. So 2 days before Christmas, which is interesting because if you remember back last month in Thanksgiving, NASCAR objected 2311 Racing and Front Row's proposed scheduling that would have required working around the Thanksgiving break. NASCAR did not want that. But because now NASCAR knows they're on the back foot, they have to play offense. Their back's against the wall. This is now or never. Now they're like, listen, yo, Judge, can you hurry this up? You got to hurry this up. Please. We got to hurry this up. I don't care if it's Christmas. We got to get this going. We got to get this solved. To me, this is very, very funny. Now, let's also play again more hypothetical questioning. Let's say NASCAR wins this appeal. Then, of course, 2311 and Front Row would have to give back the charters. They have to give it back. That's not theirs anymore. What will then happen to those 2 charters? Well, remember, SHR, they're not prepared to field 2 cars. They're only fielding 1 car with Cole Custer. So what happens then? What's going to happen now? What could happen is they may just, try and sell and lease the charters out to another team. I don't know. But it is going to be very interesting to see how this judge handles this case. So we should expect something on Monday. But if any other update that happens before Monday, I will let you know as soon as possible. But I'm just saying, NASCAR, you sound salty. First you say, listen, y'all were so confident about saying, listen, no. We're not having our work during the Thanksgiving holiday. Y'all sit back, relax, eat your food, eat your turkey, eat your mac and cheese. We got this. Now that y'all in trouble, listen, I know it's Jesus' birthday, but we gotta take care of business. We gotta get this settled now. So yeah, I don't know. When you look at this case and you look at NASCAR's filing, there are some things that do make sense, but then there are other things that still make no sense, their argument. The part about the judge not letting NASCAR know about this, that is a fair argument. But then you look at other things by saying on how, they can still compete as open teams, but they're just not going to be chartered. Yeah, they can be in every single cup race, but they're not going to be chartered teams, which is exactly what 2011 and Front Row are fighting for, to become chartered teams. It's not... either they are or they not. If you say, you're partial charter teams by granting them a race in every single cup race, that could open a whole nother can of worms for other teams to be like, hey, what is this unfair treatment? You're going to give them, open teams, a spot in every single cup race, but not us? So, I don't know. In my eyes, this response from NASCAR, to me, sounds like they are scared. But what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts on this oversized suit? I may, if y'all want me to, I probably will do all lawsuit cases in a suit. If y'all want me to, just saying. But until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. And happy holidays. Hope y'all have a wonderful Christmas, whatever, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Hope you have a great time with your family and friends. And I will see you next time.
You can't tell me now about time. Do you know how many lines I done put down? Vibes I done sent out. But we in here, you dig. I love the market till they come red carpet the kids. Success still the target. Soon I'll be crossing that bridge. But can't bring everybody with me, family only. I got some people think I owe a favor, barely know me. That's why my focus on the road, it's all I know. I see them sticking close to play the